I've really got into a TTRPG recently called Pendragon, which is one of the most unique and rewarding systems that I've ever played. It's an Arthurian role-playing game where you don't just level up your character, you follow their entire life, you make choices that span generations, and play through decades of myth and legend. If you ever wanted a game that combines role-play, storytelling, and deep, meaningful consequences for your actions, then Pendragon might be exactly what you're looking for. Today's video, I'm going to be walking you through Pendragon 6th edition, the newest version of the game, including how it plays, what makes it different from other systems like D&D, and how its campaign is structured, how traits and combat all feed into some of the best emergent storytelling that you'll ever experience at the table. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've got lots of Pendragon content in the works, including advice for running the great Pendragon campaign, as well as campaign diaries to see what I'm currently up to with my player knights. What is Pendragon? Well, Pendragon is a tabletop role-playing game originally created by Greg Stafford, first published in the 1980s. It's a game about knights, not just warriors in armors, but characters bound by duty, family, and emotion, who experience love, loss, and legacy over the course of their lives. You don't just start off at level 1 and grind your way to level 20. Instead, Pendragon campaigns are told across years, even decades. Each session often represents a year of your character's life, where you ride on quests, fight in battles, fall in love, have children, manage your estate, and age until your character dies and their heir takes their place. It's a generational saga, one that, if for those of you who play strategy games, might remind you of Crusader Kings. And it's one that you build with your players through emergent roleplay and personal story arcs. The newest edition, the 6th edition, builds on everything from the previous ones and streamlines it beautifully. So let's dig in to what makes this system great. A bit of history. Pendragon was first published in 1985 by Chaosium, and it's had a few editions since then. Most people have become quite familiar with the deep lore and world building that took place in 5th edition, which saw massive expansions like the Book of the Manor, Knights and Ladies, Book of the Warlord, and of course the Great Pendragon campaign, a nearly 500-page epic that spans 80 years of play. Pendragon 6th is really just a major refinement. It retains the core vision of the game, but simplifies and modernizes many of the rules while staying incredibly thematic. You know, you can still use the 5th edition supplement with 6th edition, especially the setting books on like the Saxons, the Irish, the Scots, and the Picts, which are really cool books, by the way. It pretty much tells you all you need to know to run a campaign in Ireland, in Scotland, or maybe have some adventures there if for whatever reason you just want to go raiding or something. The Irish book has some rules for using chariots in combat, which I am so excited to use at some point. I'm actually going to print some chariots off and just scare the shit out of my mates when they arrive and they see these chariots on the table. They'll be like, oh my god, what are we doing today? Let me talk to you about how the game is played. Instead of experience points and leveling and asking your DM after every session, oh, did we level up? Pendragon progresses on a yearly timeline. Each session or adventure typically represents a single year in the characters' lives. Once the year ends, players enter the winter period, which is one of the most iconic parts of the game, and we'll get to that quite shortly. The campaign slowly transitions from group-focused quests to deeply personal stories, watching your character grow from a young idealistic squire into a bitter war veteran or a noble lord. You know, you can get married, gain titles, hold land, raise your children, and even play your own heirs. It's a long-term game, but it rewards patience with legacy. Let's talk about skills, passions, and personality traits. Pendragon characters are built around traits, not just stats. Your knight has opposing pairs of values, like chaste versus lustful, or valorous versus cowardly. These traits are the opposite of one another, and they always add up to 20. If you gain a point in one, the other drops. That means if you gain a point in lustful, you lose a point in chaste. This means that your character is always in a state of balance, and your personality is constantly evolving based on your actions. It's also one of the best systems I've ever seen for role-playing, because your traits actually affect how you behave. If you act against your trait constantly, they'll start to shift. It creates this sort of moral gravity that grounds your character and forces you to make tough, thematic decisions. You also have passions, which is like having loyalty for your lord or love for your family, which can be invoked in combat, out of combat, whenever you want really, to inspire you. If you succeed on rolling for your passion, you gain a big bonus, and it drives your character forward. But if you fail a passion roll, it can cause your knight to go into melancholy, madness, or, I think madness is probably the worst thing that can really happen to you. It's heavy, it's dramatic, and incredible for storytelling. Next up, let's talk about gaining experience. Because, I said that you don't gain experience in the typical sense, but you do still gain progression for your character, right? And, there are no experience points. Instead, if you succeed at a skill during a year, you sometimes check it. You check it if I tell you to, or if you roll a crit. And during the winter phase, you roll to see if that skill or trait or passion improves. If it does, it goes up by 1 point. The same goes for traits and passions, as I previously stated, and it's a very grounded and natural way to progress. And it means players aren't rewarded for things that they're not doing. You're being rewarded for being in the moment, being present, and doing the things that you want to do. Because you're only going to get check marks in things that you're rolling for, that you're making an effort to try and develop and cultivate. It's really, really cool. Next up, let's talk about combat in Pendragon. Pendragon combat doesn't use initiative, like in D&D and other systems. Everybody acts simultaneously, which creates a much more kind of free-flowing cinematic feel than the usual I go, you go system. You declare your actions, you roll opposed checks, and resolve the outcome all at once. If you fight against a Saxon and you're playing as this big knight, you roll an attack, they roll an attack, you see who rolls higher, who actually wins the roll, who succeeds, who fails, and then you kind of have the outcome for it kind of defined in the next part. It feels so much closer to how chaotic and unpredictable a real fight would be. Combat is much more deadly in this system, but it's not reckless. Players need to act with honor and tactics, especially when fighting in duels or in mass battles. I've had a couple of players die so far, or player knights die so far, but it doesn't happen as frequently as you think. People do get wounded quite a bit, and being wounded is not great. It can definitely weaken your character, but it's very, very interesting from like a story perspective. And there are 3 types of wounds in Pendragon: minor, major, and mortal. Minor wounds are mostly narrative. Major wounds have mechanical penalties, and you require, maybe a few months or more of healing to actually get all your health back. Mortal wounds are life-threatening. It's basically just losing your entire hit point bar in one hit. It's a big critical hit from an enemy or a big hit from a monster, and unless it's treated properly, your character is definitely going to die. It adds a real sense of danger and consequence to the game. You're not a superhero. Even though you might define yourself as one, you are a mortal knight, and even one bad wound can change your life. I will say though, I've got quite a few players in my game who are very, they're big D&D players. I like being heroes and feeling really powerful, but I've never seen a system where my players high-five each other more in combat when they do well than this system. It really puts the fear of life into them. It's thrilling, it's exciting, and that's exactly what TTRPGs should be. You shouldn't be bored at the table. You should be excited to play, to roll dice, to see what's going to happen. And obviously you're going to be very unhappy if you die. It sucks to die. But you're going to move on, you're going to make a new character, you're going to avenge your old character's death. That is the whole philosophy of the game, and it is just, it's wicked. It's wicked. The battle system is up next, and Pendragon includes specific battle rules to simulate being part of a huge chaotic conflict, like Badon Hill or the Battle of St. Albans. And you don't roll initiative and fight just a couple of guards. You're like in the thick of it. You gain glory for heroic actions. You can actually decide what your unit does. You can like go on the flank. It is very mechanical, especially the Book of Battle 2, which is what I use. But it's like playing your own minigame for battles. It still works within the Pendragon system, but like every round you get like a set number that you got to roll against for your battle checks, and if you succeed, then you get to have more options for things you want to do with your unit. You can like flank, you can pull back, you can try to smash through the enemy line. You can get an opportunity if you crit and maybe go after a leader or something like that. You can disengage. There's all this kind of cool stuff that you can do with your friends, with your fellow player knights, and it is just super cool that you can kind of like zoom out and experience the horror and grandeur of mythic warfare, and it's just brilliant for campaign climaxes, honestly. Next up is the feasting system, and Feast in Pendragon are more than just role-playing scenes. And I know so many players who get bored with roleplay, they get bored with court politics, but this system has feasting rules, and you can even print off a deck of cards, which I've done and laminated, to draw from using a feast. My players will actually just draw a card, and I'll make like 3 different equally sized decks, and they'll just pick a card from the deck, and that will be one of their events that takes place. And there's the cards include everything from dances to drinking contests to singing duels and poetry readings. There's all sorts of stuff. You can get a card where everybody has to do a toast, and you have to roll like an indulgent check or something. And well, maybe a con check actually. But if you fail, but you basically become drunk, and you get like modifiers from that. It's just very, very cool, very thematic. And if you're running online, there's also a D100 table version that you can find if you just Google Feasting Rules D100 on Google. These feasts add a ton of flavour and variety to your sessions, and I think it's a fantastic way to kind of introduce reoccurring NPCs and let your players like just talk to other characters. Next up, I want to talk about magic and mysticism, and Pendragon is a low magic system. But that doesn't mean there's no magic. You'll encounter powerful figures like Merlin, Morgana, and even the Lady of the Lake. The mythic elements of Arthurian legend are deeply woven into the setting, and some of the 5th edition supplements allow you to play as druids and witches, and even like living saints. Magic is rare but powerful, mysterious and thematic. It's not fireballs and spell slots, it's visions, miracles, curses, and fate. I don't personally use it. Most people don't personally use those rules, but you can, right? You can let players have magic. Only thing is, I think it really negatively impacts their honor. But I have a player who's literally just playing as a monk, like a he's not a knight, he's just a monk. So he might have into magic at some point. And kind of going on about what I said about Merlin or Morgana, this has legendary characters in it. You'll meet and roleplay with King Arthur, Guinevere, Lancelot, Gawain, Tristram, and all the others that rise over the course of the campaign. And if you've got a DM, or if you are the DM and you like to do voices, like you could do some really cool voices for these characters. And they're not static either. They grow, change, and eventually fall. You get to watch the legend unfold, and depending on your choices, it might not unfold the way that it's supposed to. You might end up killing somebody before they were supposed to die in the books, or something else. It's really, really interesting. You get to be a part of the story of the legacy. The winter phase, as I kind of spoke on earlier, It's like a little mini game between adventures where players heal from wounds, roll for trait and skill improvements. They deal with court events and rivalries. You manage your land and income. You roll for childbirth and family events that can occur. And you age and roll for survival. And by survival, I mean you roll for your children's survival, the survival of your horses, to see if any of your family members die. It's incredibly immersive, and it gives players a sense of ownership over the course of the character's life. You'll go from a reckless young knight to a noble lord, a patriarch of your house with children and a legacy. Unless you're like two of my guys who've got like dog shit charisma, and every time they try and talk to a girl, they run away. They don't run away, but they're like, yes, quite good. I'm going to go over here and talk to this gentleman instead. And, yeah, bless him. It's definitely poetic and can be very, very interesting. Let's put it that way. You don't need a big group to play Pendragon. It works amazingly with 2 to 3 players, or even just a one-on-one game. The system lends itself beautifully to intimate storytelling, and solo players can easily manage estates, go on quests, or experience personal character arcs. Pendragon has a ton of adventures available from 5th edition and beyond, and some of the standouts include the Grey Knight, which I have now and I'm probably going to use at some point, the Spectre King, the Tournament of Dreams, the Boy King, the Sword Campaign, and the crown jewel is really the Great Pendragon Campaign. A massive campaign that takes you through 80 years of Arthurian legend. Each year is mapped out with key events, battles, and political developments. You can follow it faithfully or bend it to your own vision. It's a definitive long-form RPG experience, and I cannot recommend it enough. If this seems like something that you would like to try, I strongly recommend getting the Pendragon starter set. It's perfect for getting a taste of the rules with some ready-to-play adventures. The core rulebook, it has everything you need to run a full campaign. The Grey Knight is a great early adventure, newly remastered for the 6th edition. It's got a bunch of new mechanics and stuff in it. The Game Master's Handbook is wicked as well. It's got deeper lore, world building tools, and rules for creating your own content as well. And of course, the Great Pendragon campaign, which I'm currently running, and genuinely believed to be one of the greatest campaigns that I've really ever seen. I think they're making a new one for 6th edition. It's probably going to be even better, but who knows when that's going to be released. Maybe this year, maybe next year. I put all the links to all this stuff in the description. Please click on them. I do use my referral link for that kind of stuff, and you really help me out when you basically do things through the link. You still get it at the same price, but it just kind of supports me, so it was really, really cool. My final thoughts is Pendragon 6th edition is not your typical RPG. It's dramatic, heartfelt, and full of legacy. If you love stories where choices matter, characters grow old, and myth becomes real, this is the system that you've been waiting for. Thank you for watching today's video. Let me know what you think about Pendragon in the comment section below, and if you guys are going to be buying the books. Are any of you guys playing the GPC? Are you brand new? Either way, welcome to the round table. I'll see you guys next time on Loki's Lair. Until then.